Hey, here we are again, Miss Vibber Johnson.
And Mr. Nash.
And today we are here to talk to you about writing a powerful conclusion. It's your opportunity to wrap up your essay in a tidy little package and bring it home to your reader.
Yeah, unfortunately, packaging and how something looks at the end is sort of almost as important as what is inside. So when you get a Christmas present or you get a birthday present or you get a gift of some kind, which one would you rather have? This one that's kind of slocked together, or this one that looks all nice and pretty? You obviously want the pretty looking one. So at the end of your essay, your conclusion is a chance to put like that wrapping paper, that final finishing touches on your essay. And if you do a bad job, no matter how good the essay is, it might not make the point that you want it to be.
People will overlook your sloppy wrapped present to open up a much neater package.
So polish up your essay, make it look nice at the end, and it was going to make it drive home your point and to make it a far better argument. Okay, so your conclusion represents your last chance to say something important to your readers. So you've kind of outlined your argument in your intro, you've made your claims, you've supported it with evidence, you've analyzed it. Don't let it fall apart at the end. The end is so important to make your last chance, your last opportunity to say something. So what you should do in your essay, you should start by restating what you said in your thesis statement. And it shouldn't be the same thing, but it should be something similar. So what you said in your thesis, this is my position and why, should sort of be restated in your conclusion.
But don't copy the sentence from your introduction into your conclusion. That's bad writing.
That would be extremely redundant. You want to say it, but in a different way.
Use different words,
Yep.
different sentence.
And the conclusion is absolutely not ever the place to bring up new ideas. If it's an idea, it should be somewhere else in your writing. The ending point is just to drive home your point. So no new ideas in your conclusion.
Okay, there are some really great things that you can put into your conclusion to really get the reader kind of thinking, to make your gift really nicely wrapped. Ask a proactive question. You can use a quote also. Invoke a vivid image. Go back to that narration idea. In my paragraph sample, you're going to see that I'm going to call for some sort of action. That's why those little green asterisks are there. Watch for that in my conclusion. End with a warning. The world is going to come to an end if you do not stop global warming. Universalize, compare this to other situations, suggest results or consequences. So these are all things that you can do in your concluding paragraph that will kind of cause that reader to go, oh, okay, I really must act on this. I must really think about this. This person who wrote this paper is right, and I will agree with them forevermore.
So you can see, for example, like the one that Mrs. Vibber Johnson is going to show you in a second, call for action. Like you've supported all this evidence, you've explained why you're right, and then it's kind of like, now do this to fix it.
Can you guess what call for action I'm going to make? I'll give you a hint. I'm going to call for the Board of Education to allow cell phone use. What a surprise!
Okay, so here we go into what are the parts of a good conclusion. This is what you should always have. You start with a topic sentence, and this is where you sum up your main ideas, just like you did in your thesis statement. So the first sentence of your conclusion should be fairly similar to the last sentence of your introduction, which would have been your thesis statement, but it's not going to be the same. You don't just copy and paste it. You reword it so it's similar and it says the same thing, but it says it in a different way.
And it might even be a little more powerful. Then you're going to do a summation. Okay, this is where you kind of drive home those main big arguments that you are making in your paper, your big topics for each paragraph. Again, not just a recopy of your topic sentences for your body paragraphs, but resaid in a different way.
And then the real part, you don't just say like, I said this, I said this, I said this, and you're saying it again. You also want to restate why it's significant and how it relates to the real world. So like, again, restating that sense of urgency of why this is an important topic. And then finally, in your concluding sentence, this is your like last chance, your final thought, that leave the reader with like this powerful image like, okay, I need to do something. So your concluding sentence should be powerful, it should be bold, it should be interesting in some way.
It should ask the reader to do something, it should make some kind of a narrative, it should do something to really entice that reader.
Okay, so here is an example. We're going to show you an example of all three parts of the conclusion. Here's the example of a topic sentence. And this is in our hypothetical paper that we've been using as an example all along about cell phones in schools. So if Mrs. Vibber Johnson was writing a conclusion to that paper, this is what the topic sentence might sound like.
The education of all students would improve if school district policies on cell phone restrictions changed so that phones could be used as a classroom resource. Okay, do you see how that's kind of like my thesis reworded a little bit there? That's exactly what your intro wants to look like, your topic sentence to your conclusion.
Yeah, so when she made that statement in the intro that she thinks that cell phones should be allowed in schools, it's saying the same thing in the conclusion here, but it's a little different. Okay, so what we want you to do for guided practice is we want you to write a concluding topic sentence, so a topic sentence for your conclusion around the argument, should schools extend their daily hours so students are in school 10 hours per day?
Okay, so in part 2 of your conclusion, you're making like the summation. You are summarizing the big arguments that you made throughout your paper, kind of like summarizing what was the main idea in each of your body paragraphs. And you're going to notice when you read my summation here, I've taken my body paragraphs, but I've kind of even rearranged the order in my conclusion a little bit, just to give a little bit of a twist. And you can check if you want to go back and see the other videos on my introduction, and then come back and look at how this is written here. So my summation says, cell phones are a convenient way for students to instantaneously access research materials far beyond what can be currently provided within the confines of the classroom. They are user-friendly and far faster than school computers. Above all, using cell phones as an educational tools motivate students to be curious learners. Now we're going to ask you to do a guided practice.
So you can see here what Mrs. Vibber-Johnson did is like she has her 3 reasons, or her 3 claims that she made in her paper, and she's just reworded them. So you can see there's 3 different ideas within this summation that have already been stated in the paper, but she's kind of restating it in a different way, summarizing what she's already said. So what we want you to do now in your guided practice is, again, using the argument that schools should extend their daily hours to 10 hours per day. You're arguing against that. Summarize the 3 claims that you would make to argue against extending the school day, like Mrs. Vibber-Johnson just did in that summation. Pause the video and do that now. The third part of this conclusion is the concluding sentence, or the concluding section, where you're going to make use one of those strategies that we've showed you earlier in the video. Mrs. Vibber-Johnson's going to use the call to action here to sort of leave your reader in a powerful way.
So listen to this closing. Kids deserve change. School districts need to revise their current cell phone policies so that new technology can be used to improve student learning. Maybe school administrators need to update all current technology policies. Imagine if all students were given the proper avenues to use devices such as iPads and Kindles. Student learning would grow exponentially. So see here in my concluding, I call the school district, the Board of Ed, to do something. I say make a policy change.
So a call to action is one strategy you can use. It's probably one of the easier ones to use, and one that you can always use. You could also leave the reader in a number of different ways. But what we want you to do is try this call to action now using our sample 10-hour school days. Again, you've written the topic sentence, the intro sentence, you've written the summation. Now leave your reader in a powerful way using a call to action on the 10-hour school day issue. Pause and do that now. Okay. So that wraps up our conclusion video. You see the final overall concluding paragraph here, and you can see that this is what the final paragraph would look like if it was a conclusion. You can pause the video and read it to yourself. But when you're done, you have your topic sentence, that's a restatement of your thesis. You have your summation of the evidence and arguments you've presented, and then probably most importantly is your call to action, ending it in a powerful way to leave your reader engaged.